Lease versus own, rent versus buy. We are getting questions where you're a business owner, a landlord, somebody that's buying their first home, and we are having the questions of, should I rent, should I buy, should I lease, should I purchase? Let's talk about those details. Justin here, Justin Udy and Team Real Estate, and I will tell you, in looking at properties, there is a couple things that we need to think about, but I want to tell you a quick story. I had my daughter, she's a teenage daughter, and she had her friends over, and in fact, this was last night, and they're baking a cake. And after about 15 minutes, one of the girls sticks a toothpick in the cake. She's like, this cake still isn't done. And I said, well, how long is it supposed to cook? She said, it's supposed to only take about 10 minutes. And I said, well, is the temperature right? She's like, I actually increased the temperature. I looked at that and I was like, you guys, you can't just increase the temperature and then cook the cake. I'm like, you have to put it at the temperature, and it's supposed to take like 35 to 40 minutes. And it made me think a lot about what we think about as you can never defy the laws of time. And that's why I will tell you, you need to buy real estate and wait, but do not wait to buy real estate. If you stick a cake in the oven and you just crank it up, it's just gonna burn and it just never will cook. Whereas you do it slow and over time, you see that over time you end up having, you followed a recipe of success that hundreds and thousands of others have also followed, but they followed the recipe and they waited. And that is the hardest part, because you see people build and make these, they're flipping homes and they're doing all these things where they make all this money, but guess what? They're essentially getting lucky with the market. They're maybe showing you what the things they didn't do. And what I will tell you is I want you to think of this acronym, S.A.L.E, S-A.L.E, okay? When you are renting versus owning, when you own a property, that first letter S is stability. The reason I tell you it's stability is because you are gonna have a fixed rate, you're gonna have a fixed payment. Whereas when you're renting over time, it continues to grow. In fact, when I'm doing a pro forma on any property, whether one I own, one for somebody else, I'm assuming that there's gonna be at least anywhere from a 1 to 3% a change in rent every single year forever. The reason why is folks, we haven't seen rents go like this unless there's an economic downturn. And when there is, guess what happens to it? It goes right back up. If you look at the streaks, it kind of goes like this, but it's not like, no, it's not going down. So know that the rents, know that the leases, those continue to go up. In fact, if you do commercial real estate, sometimes they'll refer to it as a ratchet clause, that every single year it's an automatic 3%, automatic 3%, automatic 3%. So just know that stability is so important. A stands for appreciation. When you have an asset that you own, you can take advantage of a good going market. Now, many people in the last year or 2 years have said, well, I don't want to buy. Interest rates are so dang high. We've seen prices and so forth make adjustments. But folks, again, over the long term, we see long-term appreciation. We think these things grow. If you do not rent, you will never be able to time the market. And if you do try to, I promise you, you're gonna be super disappointed because nobody can time it. The L stands for leverage. The reason that you can leverage a property is because now you're essentially building what we refer to as equity. Equity means essentially you have a forced savings plan when you own that property. Every single month that you own a piece of property, you are paying down the mortgage, paying down the mortgage. Now, it may only start off with $100 a month, but eventually it gets to $500, $600, $1,000, $1,500 until that property is eventually paid off. I had a duplex that I paid off. I paid it off completely. And I'll tell you what ended up happening. Another opportunity came up where I was able to, with a partner, purchase a commercial building. And so I leveraged, used what I had built and paid down this asset. And I was able to borrow against it to purchase a building that we ended up having the US Post Office do a 25-year lease from us. So folks, had I not owned that piece of property, I would have never been able to purchase that other one. And that's same with a single family homes, people, again, owning a piece of property, it gives you the ability. I'm gonna tell you, like, I don't believe in taking your home and using it for other purchases, okay? But you can do home equity lines. People do improvements to their property because they may not have the cash on hand, but they can put the money into the property because they've owned the asset and they've been able to build equity in it over time. So that forced savings plan gives you that ability to leverage it. And then the last thing is, and again, if you look at S.A.L.E, E is that equity portion. And so I kind of spoke about that, but the only one thing that I did just kind of want to tidbit is just say, look, you're gaining ownership in that property. The more you pay it down is the more ownership that you essentially own in it, or equity, until you end up selling the property. So what would I tell you of rent versus own? Look, in the short term, there is a lot of flexibility when you're renting. it makes sense because you may not know the direction you're going. You may not know what you're doing. And it does give you that flexibility. But that money does go nowhere. And the money isn't built anywhere. So I would always recommend, if you have the ability, purchase as soon as you can. Purchase often. And if you have the opportunity, what I tell people is, look, plan, if you purchase one property a year, for every year for the next 5 years, I promise you, you will have more equity, you will have more wealth, and you'll have essentially more passive income than really anybody you know. But that's because you you put together a plan to put it together. If you have questions about this or other things that you'd like to learn about, please just let us know. Again, we're always here to help. I'm here to help you with anything. I'm super passionate about it just because I have seen people literally change their lives when they were like, I don't know, I just want to keep renting, and they've gotten into something. And I've never had a client ever in the last 18 years now, ever say, man, I sure wish I never purchased that property. Every single one of them has said, I am so happy I purchased it then, because over time they had built so much income, so much equity, so much appreciation because they owned real estate and they waited. They didn't wait to buy real estate. Hey, looking forward to talking to you soon. Thanks.